Hey, welcome to Blockchain Basics. Today I'm going to go over a quick intro on investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for beginners. So first we're going to touch on how and where to invest, and then what I invest in, what I think you might want to invest in as a beginner. Coinbase is probably the easiest and one of the safer places you can buy crypto. You can create an account on Coinbase.com, link your email and your bank account, and send funds. And you may have to do some identity verification, but otherwise, it's fairly easy and works pretty much like creating any other account on the internet. And if you're going to be buying a fair amount, then you can do a little extra research on how to use their pro features. I think it's called Coinbase Advanced. Otherwise, Coinbase just offers you a very easy to use way to get exposure to Bitcoin or other crypto. Now, is it safe? You probably shouldn't keep more than maybe $5,000 or $10,000 worth of crypto on Coinbase or any exchange for that matter. Really, the whole point of Bitcoin is that you're holding your own Bitcoin, that you're not trusting a centralized authority, a third party. But for small amounts, Coinbase is fairly safe. Another option for getting exposure to Bitcoin is to buy the Bitcoin ETF or one of the Bitcoin ETFs, especially in a Roth IRA, because that offers certain tax advantages. So I have a little bit of IBIT in my Roth IRA. That's the exchange traded fund put out by BlackRock. There's, I think, 10 others available with varying fees. I'd look for a fee that is less than 25 basis points or 0.25% per year. And now, is this safe? Again, it kind of goes against the ethos of Bitcoin and having total control over your money. But if you're not a particularly tech advanced person, this might actually be a more safe way for you to hold Bitcoin, because you can do it through your Schwab account or your Fidelity account. You don't have to worry about losing your coins from making a technical mistake or anything. And you still get the advantage of the government not being able to debase your money the way they can if you're holding US dollars, and they can just print as many as they want. Of course, in the long term, you never know when the government's going to say to BlackRock or all the other companies, including Coinbase for that matter, hey, give us all your Bitcoin, just like they did with gold. And they said, hey, all the banks, you're going to give us your gold. And then they immediately inflated the dollar. So that's why it's always best to hold your own Bitcoin. But again, for beginners, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. If you are going to be buying more than $5,000 or $10,000, that's when you're going to probably want to look into cold storage devices. And this is just a term for holding your Bitcoin in your own Bitcoin wallet, off an exchange, and off the internet. So there are various different devices that will help you do this: Ledger, Trezor, Blockstream Jade, Coldcard. These are all reputable hardware wallets, and this is a much safer option than keeping your coins on Coinbase or buying the ETF if you're worried about, say, the government taking your Bitcoin. Now, what is the difference between Bitcoin and altcoins? Right. So most people first hear about Bitcoin, but then I think most people have this idea that they missed the boat. Like, oh, it's too expensive now. And so then they get drawn into thinking, well, maybe these other cryptocurrencies, they seem cheaper. Maybe I should buy those instead. And here's the thing with Bitcoin. It's always going to feel expensive. At 70,000, it feels expensive. At 100,000, it will feel expensive. At $500,000, it will feel expensive. And by the way, when I first started buying it at like $7,000, it felt expensive then. And for the people who were buying it at $200, it felt expensive then. For the people that were buying it when it was pennies, it felt expensive then. Because until you understand what you're buying, it's going to feel expensive at any price. So people on YouTube and Twitter will try to sell you altcoins. They'll say, take a bigger risk, you'll get a bigger reward. And that may be true, but it depends on the coin. So there are tens of thousands of different cryptocurrencies. I'll just use two as an example of two coins that I bought last market cycle when I was more willing to invest in different cryptos and maybe a little bit more naive. I bought a coin called Ethereum Classic. and I bought another coin called Bitcoin Cash. I put a little bit of money in each, hoping that they would skyrocket just like Bitcoin had. And with Ethereum Classic, it actually did. I think I bought it at like $10 and it went up to $170. And I was able to sell a fair amount of it and was super happy about that. And Bitcoin Cash started to do the same thing. It looked like it was going to do the same thing. I was certainly expecting it to. And then it never even broke its all-time high. So I never got the chance to sell it, and I ended up holding it through the bear market. And for every one coin that does something like Ethereum Classic did and goes on this crazy bull run, there's literally 100 others that just crashed to the ground. So that's the thing. It really depends on the coin. It also depends on your time frame. Over the long term, does the coin that you're interested in buying, does it trend up against Bitcoin? And the answer for most altcoins is no. Most of them trend down over time against Bitcoin. So you have to ask yourself, can you time the market? Because Bitcoin allows you to DCA, dollar cost average. You can buy a little bit at a time, and whether you buy when it's high or whether you buy when it's low, that's fine. You're always buying, and over time, over several years, you get rewarded because it trends up. Altcoins require you to time the market. If you buy at the wrong time, you may never see that price again. And even if you buy at the right time, you also have to time selling it correctly, or else you could see it crash back into the ground. So now let's talk about some of the fundamentals of Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin different from most, if not all, other cryptocurrencies that are out there? First, Bitcoin is a commodity with regulatory clarity. There was no pre-mine. That means no insiders got a head start, an advantage, and got to buy up a bunch of Bitcoin and then sell it onto the market. Secondly, there's no centralized control. Bitcoin is decentralized. That means it allows for immutable transactions. Transactions cannot be changed once they're complete. No one can take your coins. No one can roll back your transactions. It also has a limited supply, and no one can change that. And importantly, the SEC has approved the Bitcoin ETF and has declared Bitcoin a commodity. This provides regulatory clarity that most other altcoins do not have. And one of the coins that I had last market cycle that I was actually fairly excited about, in fact, it was the third largest cryptocurrency in the world, XRP. It looked like it was getting ready to go on a huge bull run along with Bitcoin and Ethereum when there was a whole lot of hype in the market. And then the SEC sued the company associated with XRP and it crashed. And it's never recovered since then. And I don't know what's going to happen, but there is no company associated with Bitcoin. There is no Bitcoin CEO that the SEC could sue. And that's part of what makes it a commodity. Now, Bitcoin, like I said, has a limited supply. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and nobody can change that. No group of people can change that. And Bitcoin uses proof of work to keep it secure and decentralized. Now, if you don't know what that means, that's okay. We'll come back to this briefly. But let's consider the second largest crypto, Ethereum. The SEC has recently said that Ethereum or ETH may be an unregistered security. Now, there's a few reasons for this, one of which is Ethereum can provide a yield. That means it may pass the Howey test, which is the test of whether something is a security in the United States. This would be a huge problem for Ethereum. Also, 20 to 60%, depending on who you ask, of ETH was pre-mined or ICO'd, meaning that developers and insiders were allowed to get special access to Ethereum before the public. And so they were able to buy it at super cheap prices and then later sell it onto the market. Ethereum and most other altcoins are also not decentralized in the same way that Bitcoin is. Ethereum is heavily controlled by the original creator of it, Vitalik, and his friends at the Ethereum Foundation. And in fact, the SEC is potentially bringing a lawsuit against the Ethereum Foundation. There is no Bitcoin CEO or Bitcoin Foundation for which the SEC could bring a lawsuit against because it truly is decentralized. So Vitalik and the ETH Foundation have in the past rolled back the blockchain in order to bail out certain investors. They have just last year switched the entire blockchain, the way it works, from proof of work mechanisms to proof of stake. And they have the ability to change the supply cap, which they've already done and could do again in the future. So there is no true supply cap if somebody has the ability to print more. So like I said, ETH uses proof of stake. This sacrifices security and decentralization in order for it to gain speed and efficiency. Now, this is a very complex topic, and we'll just touch on the very beginning of it. But basically, proof of work is a mechanism where you must do work in order to earn coins. And that work is through GPU, computing power, and electricity. So basically, the way Bitcoin works is if you want to mine Bitcoin, you have to expend computing power and electricity in order to do so. You can think of it like gold. In order to get new gold, you can't just print the gold like the government can print dollars. Instead, you actually have to go into the ground with an axe and get some yourself and then refine it. And when Satoshi published the white paper back in 2008, proof of work was really the true invention that solved a problem nobody had ever solved before, basically the double spending problem, where how, in the absence of some trusted third party like a company or a government, how do you assure that everybody in the network is being honest and that nobody can be secretly spending one coin somewhere and that same coin somewhere else without telling them? So proof of work is a pretty ingenious way of solving the double spend problem. And it does so in a way such that no party gets an unfair advantage in the distribution of the supply, because in order to get the Bitcoin, you have to do the work. And the other thing this does is it balances the power, similarly to how in the US Constitution, there's a balance of power between the three branches of government. There is a balance of power between the miners, the nodes, and the end users in the Bitcoin network. In a proof of stake system, on the other hand, people must stake their coins in order to earn more coins. And this benefits those who already have the most Ethereum. And as I said before, the people who have the most Ethereum are the ones, the insiders and the developers that got to buy them early before the public had access to it. So not only do they benefit from the staking rewards, they also get control over the system. And there's no miners to serve as a check or a balance of power against the validators that are staking their coins. So there is this trade-off between security and efficiency. And the question is, how much of each do you need? If you are building a commodity-based monetary system with a plan for it to last hundreds, if not thousands of years, then you're going to value security, decentralization, and simplicity. Anyone with a laptop computer and an internet connection can run a Bitcoin node and participate in securing the system. The entire blockchain is less than half a terabyte. In the Bitcoin system, the blockchain itself is reserved for highly important and highly secure transactions. So as Bitcoin scales, transaction fees will become more expensive, block space will become more limited. However, there will be additional layer 2 solutions that increase efficiency, speed, and cost while sacrificing some level of security and decentralization without sacrificing the decentralization and security of the base layer. If, on the other hand, you're building the next big technology platform, then you're going to value speed, cost, and scalability. And centralized control will actually allow you to implement new code and new technologies, whether that is good or bad. So how am I invested? Right now, my portfolio is about 80% Bitcoin, about 10% Ethereum, and about 10% other cryptocurrencies. And in the last 2 years, I've really only bought Bitcoin and nothing else. So why is that? First, I'm not good at timing the market. Bitcoin trends up with time, so you can buy and hold, and that's what I've been doing. Most altcoins trend down against Bitcoin. And since I'm not that great at timing the market, that's not a strategy I choose to play these days. I'm also not good at picking specific altcoins. Most altcoins will not make it to new highs this cycle. If you're lucky enough to pick correctly, you also have to pick correctly when is the appropriate time to sell. If you don't sell your Bitcoin and it crashes 70%, that's okay, because you know within a couple years it will just keep going up. The other advantage of the buy and hold strategy is that you don't have to pay taxes on it. First of all, selling cryptocurrency is frustrating because it can be really confusing when it comes to tax season, and obviously it costs you a lot of your profits. There's zero taxes to buy and hold Bitcoin, and there's zero taxes to sell Bitcoin ETFs within a Roth IRA account. In the past, I'd recommended at least 50% of your portfolio be in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Now, this is not financial advice, never has been. I'm even more conservative and even more Bitcoin heavy. So in summary, Bitcoin is a decentralized, unstoppable, peer-to-peer monetary system for the future. Prices of everything will trend down when measured in Bitcoin over time. The price of bread will trend down against Bitcoin. The price of eggs, the price of meat, the price of cars will trend down against Bitcoin. The price of houses will trend down against Bitcoin. The price of gold, the price of silver, the price of the stock market will trend down against Bitcoin. And yet it will always feel expensive. And you'll always feel like you're too late until you really understand the technology. Of course, the altcoin casino can be fun, and it can be a good way to speculate or gamble, and you could make a lot of money, or you could lose a lot of money. And I've done both playing with the altcoin casino. But if you do that, it's much more important to know when to buy and sell. And honestly, over time, I've learned that for as much time as I spend looking at charts and trying to understand this stuff, I'm still not that good at timing the market. And the statistics show that really nobody is very good at timing the market. So I'd recommend you spend some time learning about Bitcoin, learning about the monetary system, trying to understand it, and don't just give in to the hype of whatever the new altcoin is, because yes, it may be going up right now. It may continue to go up for quite a while. And who knows, some of them may actually stick around for the long term. But there's only one cryptocurrency that I'm very confident will be around 10, 20, 50 years from now, and that's Bitcoin. So thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far in the video, why don't you give it a thumbs up down at the bottom and leave a comment if you have your own thoughts. I'll always respond to every one of them. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm just some rando on YouTube who likes to talk about Bitcoin. So thanks for watching and have a good one.